Welcome back to Void of Fears. Before we jump into today's story, I've got to ask for a quick favour. If you could smash that like button, drop a comment below, and hit subscribe if you haven't already. It seriously makes a huge difference. YouTube's algorithm loves that stuff, and it pushes my videos to new viewers who might dig these stories too. I really appreciate every single one of you who takes the time to do that. It means the world to me and helps keep this channel growing. Alright, enough of me rambling. Let's dive into today's story. The screen flickers to life in darkness. There's only the sound of breathing, hollow, distorted, the rhythm of someone trapped inside their own terror. Then archival footage appears. Apollo 17 splashing down in the Pacific Ocean, December 1972. News anchors smile as they declare the end of the moon race, the final chapter of humanity's greatest adventure. But they lied. A declassified mission patch appears on screen. It shows a black sphere with a single eye staring back at the viewer. Beneath it, words that were never meant to be seen. Apollo 22. Launch date, March 14th, 1973. Destination, Aitken Basin, far side of the moon. Mission duration, 8 days. Crew survival, classified. The camera pulls back slowly from a pair of weathered hands clutching a faded photograph. 3 astronauts stand together in their white suits, smiling with the confidence of men who believed they were invincible. The camera continues pulling back, revealing the man holding the photograph, Thomas Aldridge, 82 years old, sitting in a darkened room with curtains drawn against the afternoon sun. His eyes are hollow, distant, the eyes of a man who witnessed something that shattered him from the inside out. "I've kept this secret for 52 years, he says, his voice barely above a whisper. "Every night I close my eyes and I'm back there, in that pit, listening to it breathe." The footage shifts to 1973. Thomas Aldridge at 30 years old, square-jawed, dark-haired, with the bearing of a man who'd faced death before and survived. Korean war pilot, father of 2 daughters, selected for Apollo 22 based on his ability to stay calm under pressure and make split-second decisions. The kind of man NASA trusted to bring the crew home, no matter what. His crewmates appear in training footage. Peter Strauss, the lunar module pilot, an aerospace engineer with a methodical mind and steady hands. He's the quiet one, the one who double-checks every calculation, who never makes a mistake. And Dr. Elliott Ward, the mission specialist, a geologist who'd spent years exploring caves in the deepest parts of the Earth. Ward specialized in hostile environments, in places where one wrong step meant death. He was laughing in every photograph, always joking, using humor to mask the fear that came with his job. The training footage shows them as brothers, Strauss making a dry comment that sends Ward into fits of laughter, Aldridge rolling his eyes but smiling despite himself. They trusted each other completely. "We trained for equipment failure," Aldridge says in voiceover. "We trained for system malfunctions. We never trained for what waits in the dark." Declassified Pentagon documents fill the screen, each page stamped with "Eyes Only" in red ink. The date, November 1971. The Soviet Lunar 19 probe had been orbiting the moon for months when it detected something unusual, coherent radio pulses emanating from the Aitken Basin on the far side. The pulses occurred in precise 27-hour intervals, matching no known astronomical phenomenon. Frequency analysis suggested artificial origin. The CIA's conclusion was immediate. The Soviets had established a listening post on the far side of the moon. They were spying on American communications, potentially military installations. It was the Cold War in space, and the United States was losing. Mission objective, marked priority, Alpha, locate and assess Soviet installation. Secondary objective, marked Omega, Protocol. Retrieve or destroy Soviet technology by any means necessary. Dr. Patricia Emerson appears on screen. She's elderly now, but her eyes are sharp. Former NSA cryptographer who worked on the Apollo 22 intelligence. The transmissions weren't random, she says, leaning forward. They were structured. There was intention behind them, almost like... She pauses, choosing her words carefully. Almost like a beacon, something calling out or calling something in. A classified memo dated January 1973 appears. If intelligence confirms Soviet presence, crew authorized to use all necessary force to secure American interests. Aldridge's voice cuts through. They sent us to the moon with guns. We had a pistol in the survival kit, just in case we encountered Soviet cosmonauts, just in case things got unfriendly 384,000 kilometers from home. March 14th, 1973, 3:22 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, Cape Canaveral, Florida. The launch footage looks wrong somehow. The crowds are smaller than previous Apollo missions. Press coverage is minimal. The announcers sound scripted, their enthusiasm forced. Even the families in the viewing stands seem subdued, as if they know something terrible is about to happen but can't articulate what. The Saturn V rocket ignites and Apollo 22 rises into the darkness, trailing fire like a falling star in reverse. Mission control audio crackles through the speakers. Voices clipped, tense, professional. None of the excitement that accompanied earlier missions. Houston, we are go for trans-lunar injection, Aldridge's voice says. 3 days to the far side. The journey is quiet. The documentary plays long stretches of ambient cockpit sounds. The hum of electronics, the whisper of oxygen recyclers, the occasional beep of a monitoring system. It creates an atmosphere of profound isolation, of three men hurtling through the void towards something they don't understand. On day 2, Strauss mentions his dosimeter readings are slightly elevated but within acceptable parameters. He says it casually, but there's uncertainty in his voice. Day 3. Ward tries to joke about being the first geologist to visit the dark side. His laugh sounds forced, hollow, like a man trying to convince himself everything is normal. The final communication before lunar orbit insertion. Houston, we're going dark. 48 minutes of silence. The Capcom's response, Godspeed, Apollo 22. We'll be waiting. The radio cuts to static. And in that static, for just a moment, there's a rhythmic pulse. Steady. Deliberate. Then nothing but the hiss of dead air. Present-day Aldridge stares at the camera. The moment we passed behind the moon, everything changed. The sun disappeared. Earth disappeared. You're in absolute darkness except for stars. But the stars looked wrong, like they'd shifted position, like they were watching us. The command module, Endurance, orbited the moon twice. Cameras recorded the Aitken Basin below, one of the oldest and deepest impact craters in the solar system, 3 billion years old, the far side's most prominent feature. Peter Strauss spotted it first. Tom, look at Sector 7, those formations. Enhanced imagery shows concentric circles in the lunar soil, perfectly spaced, too regular to be natural. Ward's voice on the recording, that's not natural weathering. Something made those, something with intention. The decision point came quickly. Aldridge could abort the mission, return to Earth, and report the anomaly. Or he could continue as planned. We came to find the truth, his voice crackles through the recording. Let's find it. March 17th, 1973. 11:34 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. The lunar module, Wanderer, separated from Endurance. Strauss would remain in orbit while Aldridge and Ward descended to the surface. Standard procedure. The same maneuver performed on every Apollo landing. but this time felt different. The descent audio grows increasingly tense. Ward reading out altitude numbers, his voice rising slightly with each update. Altitude 5,000 feet. Tom, the crater walls are steeper than the surveys indicated. I see it, Aldridge responds, adjusting approach vector. At 500 feet, alarms begin, a shrill electronic wail that fills the cabin. We're drifting, Ward shouts, lateral velocity increasing. Something is pulling them off course. The lunar module slides sideways despite Aldridge's corrections, as if an invisible hand is dragging them away from their intended landing site. Emergency burn. The descent engine screams. Hard landing. They hit the surface 35 degrees, off target position. The module bouncing once, twice before settling. Silence. Just heavy breathing through the audio feed. Wanderer to Endurance, Aldridge says finally. We're down, rough, but we're down. Strauss's voice carries obvious relief. Copy that, Wanderer. Welcome to the far side. Ward says quietly, Tom, look at the horizon. Through the triangular window, the concentric circles are visible. And they're not circles at all. They're spirals, dozens of them, carved deep into the ancient regolith. Each one 20 meters across, descending into the surface like drill holes. And at their center, 5 kilometers away, there's a depression, perfectly circular, too regular, too precise to be a natural formation. The suiting up sequence is methodical, by the book. Every movement choreographed through hundreds of hours of training. But the audio reveals something wrong. Neither man is speaking. Just the sound of zippers, the click of helmet locks, the hiss of oxygen flowing into their suits. Aldridge opens the hatch. One small step for Apollo 22. His boot touches the surface and the regolith shifts unnaturally, almost like liquid. The dust doesn't behave the way it should. It clings to his boot, reluctant to release. Ward follows, nearly stumbles. The ground feels unstable. My boots are sinking more than they should. Dr. James Chen appears on screen, identified as an acoustic physicist. He's analysed the recovered audio from the mission. There's a subsonic frequency present in the recording, he says, below human hearing range, but it's definitely there. It pulses at approximately 0.2 Hz. The problem is, sound can't travel in vacuum. There's no air to carry it. Whatever they were experiencing, it was transmitting through the ground itself, through the moon. They deploy the rover and begin traversing toward the nearest spiral. The silence is oppressive. No banter between them now. Just breathing and the crunch of tires on lunar soil. The first spiral is 3 meters wide, carved 20 centimeters deep into the surface. Ward kneels beside it, runs his gloved hand along the edge. This wasn't made by impacts, he says. The walls are smooth, almost machined. Tom, this is precision work. Aldridge replies, 15 minutes, samples and photographs. Then we head back. Ward continues, there's something at the bottom, some kind of residue. He scrapes a sample, holds it up to his helmet light. The residue is black, but it catches the light strangely, shimmering, with colours that seem impossible. Ultraviolet purples, infrared reds, shades that human eyes shouldn't be able to perceive. Tom, Ward says slowly, this is organic. I'm reading carbon chains, amino acids. This is biological, material. The camera shows Aldridge's reaction through his helmet visor. His eyes widen, his breathing accelerates. That's impossible, he says. There's no life on the moon. There's no water, no atmosphere, no... Ward interrupts. I know what I'm reading. This came from something alive. Against protocol, against every safety regulation, they drive towards the central depression. Aldridge later justified it in his mission report. We were sent to investigate anomalies. This was the primary anomaly. We had to know. The journey takes 38 minutes. The spirals grow larger, deeper, more frequent as they approach. The rover's wheels kick up dust that hangs in the vacuum longer than it should, almost as if the moon's gravity has weakened. The depression looms ahead, perfectly circular, 200 meters across. They park the rover at the edge and approach on foot. Looking down, the hole descends beyond the reach of their helmet lights. But there's something at depth, a faint luminescence pulsing slowly, like a heartbeat. Ward says, his voice tight, "I'm reading temperature variation. It's warmer at depth, negative 100 degrees at the rim, negative 80 at 50 meters. Tom, that's impossible. The far side is minus 180 degrees. Something down there is generating heat." Aldridge clips a light stick from his belt and drops it into the hole. They watch it fall, a tiny green star descending into darkness. 10 seconds. 20. 30. Finally, a faint point of light appears at the bottom, maybe 100 meters down. And then it moves. The light shifts laterally, as if something picked it up and carried it away. Both men freeze. Neither speaks. Neither breathes. Then, a sound fills their helmets. Not through the radio, the channel is silent. This comes from below, transmitted through the ground, up through their boots, vibrating through their suit structures and into their bones. A deep, resonant tone, almost musical, almost like a voice forming a word. The word is home. Present-day Aldridge sits in his darkened room, tears streaming down his weathered face. Elliott heard it too, I know he did. But for a moment we both pretended we hadn't. We stood there on the edge of that pit, and we both pretended nothing had spoken to us from the darkness. Because if we acknowledged it, we'd have to accept what it meant. The interviewer asks off camera, "What did it mean?" Aldridge looks directly into the lens. That we weren't the first to come here, and that everything that came before us never left. The return to the Wanderer is frantic. Neither man speaks during the drive. The rover's camera shows Ward gripping the handholds, his knuckles white inside his gloves. Aldridge pushes the vehicle to its maximum speed, lunar dust spraying behind them. Once inside the module, suits removed, Ward is shaking. His hands tremble as he tries to make notes in the mission log, the pen scratching meaningless lines across the page. Aldridge attempts radio contact with Strauss in orbit. "Endurance, this is Wanderer. Do you copy?" Static. Then fragments of voice. Copy. Broken and distorted. Status. Aldridge says, "We found something. We need to discuss return protocols." Strauss replies, "Tom, you're scheduled for 2 more EVAs. What's wrong?" Long pause. Aldridge looks at Ward, who's staring out the window toward the depression. "We're not alone down here." The connection cuts out entirely. Ward doesn't turn from the window. "It knows we're here. I can feel it watching." "Can't you feel it?" Aldridge says, "Elliott, get some rest. We'll reassess in 6 hours." Ward finally turns, and his face is pale, slick with sweat. "You saw it too. You heard it. That wasn't equipment malfunction. That wasn't our imagination. Something called to us, Tom. Something underneath this moon said the word home. What does that mean? Who's home?" Aldridge doesn't answer. Because he has no answer. Because every explanation he can think of is worse than the last. Present-day Aldridge breaks down completely. The camera doesn't cut away. It holds on his face as he sobs, as 52 years of suppressed terror finally break through. "I should have ordered immediate departure," he gasps between sobs. "I should have fired the ascent engine right then. But I was a soldier. I had a mission. I had orders. And I was too proud to admit I was afraid." Dr. Nina Foster appears on screen, identified as a NASA psychologist who specialized in astronaut mental health. "The far side of the moon creates profound isolation," she explains. "You're completely cut off from Earth, from everyone you love, from everything familiar. The human mind begins to fracture without those touchstones. Couple that with genuine fear, with experiencing something that contradicts your understanding of reality, and you have a recipe for catastrophic psychological breakdown. She pauses, considering her words carefully, but Commander Aldridge didn't break down. None of them did, which suggests that what they experienced wasn't a hallucination. It was real enough that their training overrode their terror, real enough that their survival instincts kept them functional. That frightens me more than any mental breakdown ever could. March the 18th, 1973, 6:15 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. They suit up again. This time they're carrying climbing equipment, ropes, pitons, carabiners. The plan is simple. Rappel into the depression, assess the source of the luminescence, return within 2 hours. The plan is suicide, but neither man says it. They reach the depression's edge. The luminescence is brighter now, pulsing in a steady rhythm. Ward counts it and his voice shakes when he speaks. That's a resting human heart rate. Aldridge secures the anchor, driving it deep into the lunar soil. Ward prepares the rope, testing its strength with sharp tugs. Before they descend, Aldridge grabs Ward's shoulder. Through their visors, they lock eyes. If anything happens to me, you get back to the Wanderer and launch. Don't wait. Don't investigate. Don't try to recover my body. You just go. Promise me. Ward nods slowly. I promise. They descend together, boots pushing off the smooth walls. Every few meters, alcoves appear, perfectly circular openings leading to horizontal passages. The tunnels branch off in multiple directions, disappearing into darkness. Ward says, "Tom, these are corridors. This isn't a natural formation. This is a network. Something built this." 50 meters down, the luminescence surrounds them. It's coming from within the rock itself. Veins of something that glows with pale blue light, pulsing in synchronization. The veins run through the walls like blood vessels, branching and reconnecting in complex networks. Aldridge reaches out, touches one of the veins. Even through his glove, he can feel warmth. The pulsing accelerates. Ward says urgently, "It's reacting to you. Don't touch anything else." They continue descending, 75 meters. The shaft opens into a chamber and they swing free, boots touching a floor that gives slightly under their weight, like walking on flesh. Their helmet lights sweep across the space, and both men stop breathing. The chamber is vast, hundreds of meters across, the ceiling lost in darkness above. The walls are covered in those luminescent veins, thousands of them, all pulsing together like a single massive organism. And throughout the chamber, rising from floor to ceiling, are structures. Hexagonal columns, each one 3 meters tall and 2 meters wide. Each column is translucent, and inside each one, suspended in some kind of fluid, is something that might once have been human. Ward approaches the nearest column slowly, like a man in a dream, or a nightmare. "Oh God," he whispers, "oh my God." The figure inside wears an old pressure suit, Soviet design, 1960s era. The visor is shattered, and the face is visible, mummified, but intact. Eyes open, mouth frozen in a scream that never ended. Aldridge counts the columns, his voice shaking. There are dozens. Elliott, there are dozens of them. The suits are different eras, different designs. Some American, some Soviet. One column contains a figure in what looks like a 1940s high-altitude flight suit, the kind worn by test pilots before the space age. Ward's voice rises toward hysteria. How is this possible? The space race started in '59. How could someone be here in the '40s? Aldridge is staring at one of the Soviet cosmonauts. The name tag is visible on the suit. Petrova. "Elliott, I know this name. Yelena Petrova." She was a Soviet test pilot, disappeared in 1967 during a routine training flight. They never found her plane, never found any wreckage. She just vanished. He turned slowly, helmet lights sweeping across more columns. These people were never reported missing from space programs. They disappeared from Earth, from training flights, from test missions. Someone has been bringing them here for decades. The pulsing light intensifies. The chamber grows brighter. A sound begins, not the voice from before, but something else. Clicking, scraping, coming from the tunnel entrances around them. Multiple sources, growing closer. Ward backs toward the rope. "Tom, we need to leave, right now." But Aldridge is transfixed by the Petrova column. As he watches, the fluid inside shifts, the body rotates slowly, and the eyes move. They move to look directly at him. The mouth opens. No sound, but Aldridge can read the lips, forming two words. "Run, now." The clicking stops. Complete silence, the kind of silence that precedes something terrible. Then, from the darkness of a tunnel entrance, something emerges. It's pale, the colour of bone, articulated like an insect, but wrong. Too many joints, limbs bending, in directions that violate every law of anatomy. The head is eyeless, but covered in sensory pits that pulse with the same luminescence as the veins. The mandibles click together, weeping that oil-slick substance. More emerge from other tunnels, dozens of them, surrounding the chamber. Aldridge screams, "Climb!" The helmet camera footage is degraded, corrupted by interference, but it captures enough. Two figures ascending frantically, boots scrambling against smooth walls. Below them, the creatures pouring from tunnel mouths like water from a burst dam. The creatures move up the walls, defying gravity. They move impossibly fast, their joints hyperextending with each stride. Ward is screaming, "Don't look down, don't look down. Oh God, Tom, don't look down." One of the creatures reaches Ward's boot. Multiple limbs grasp his leg, pulling. Ward kicks frantically, his boot connecting with the creature's body. It makes a sound like dried leaves crunching, like breaking bone. The creature falls away, tumbling into the darkness, but more are coming, always more. 40 meters to the surface, 30. Ward shouts, "The rope, Tom, the rope is moving." Something at the surface is pulling up the anchor, trying to haul the rope away. Aldridge yells, "Cut loose, use the pitons." They hammer pitons into the walls, free climbing now. The training kicks in, years of practice on Earth, climbing walls while wearing the bulky suits. But this is real. This is life or death. The creatures are everywhere, covering the walls around them like a living carpet. One reaches Aldridge's faceplate. For a moment, they're face to face. The creature's head is covered in those sensory pits, each one dilating and contracting independently. The mandibles open, revealing rows of crystalline teeth. The mouth secretes that substance, and where it touches Aldridge's visor, the material begins to dissolve. Aldridge punches through his own faceplate, his gloved fist breaking the plexi. The creature falls away. His suit pressure alarm begins screaming. He has maybe 60 seconds before hypoxia. 20 meters to the surface. 10. Ward reaches the rim first, hauls himself over, turns back, extends his hand. Aldridge grasps it, and Ward pulls with all his strength. They collapse on the surface, gasping. Behind them, the ground is erupting. The creatures are everywhere, pouring from openings that weren't visible before. The spirals weren't decorative, they were vents, access points to the warren below. Aldridge chokes out, his voice raw from breathing thin air. "The rover! Go!" They run in the slow-motion ballet of lunar gravity, each bound taking them 3 meters forward, but feeling like an eternity. The creatures are faster, their multiple limbs giving them purchase on the loose regolith. Ward reaches the rover first, throws himself into the driver's seat, powers it up. Aldridge jumps in as the first creatures reach the vehicle. One attaches to Aldridge's damaged helmet, forcing its mandibles through the crack, trying to widen the opening. Ward slams the accelerator. The rover lurches forward. The creature falls away, its limbs scrabbling for purchase. The rear camera shows the horror behind them, hundreds of the creatures moving as one coordinated mass, like a swarm of ants. The entire surface of the basin seems to be alive with them. The Wanderer is 800 meters away, 500, 300. The creatures are gaining. 100 meters. Aldridge shouts, "Don't stop! Drive right up to the hatch!" The rover slams in to the Wanderer's landing leg. Both men leap for the ladder, climbing with desperate speed. Creatures hit the module's hull, their limbs scrambling for grip on the smooth metal. Ward reaches the hatch first. Aldridge follows. They seal the door just as a creature's limb forces through the gap. Aldridge activates the manual override, and the hatch slams shut, severing the limb. It falls to the floor, twitching. There's no time for checklist, no time for procedure. Aldridge fires the ascent engine immediately. The Wanderer shudders, rises. Through the window, creatures are still attached, clinging to the landing legs, trying to force their way through the hull. Lunar dust swirls around them in violation of all physics. There's no air, yet the dust moves like a storm. They rise faster. 50 meters. 100. The creatures begin to fall away, unable to maintain their grip. The basin recedes below, but it's changed. The entire surface is moving, undulating like a living thing. The spirals are opening wider. They were never vents. They were breathing holes. And from the central depression, something is emerging. It's vast, larger than any structure humanity has ever built. It rises slowly from the hole, unfurling like a flower opening to the sun. But it's not a flower. It's not anything that should exist. Ward whispers, "What is that? What the hell is that?" Aldridge doesn't answer. He can't answer. There are no words for what they're seeing. They achieve orbit. Docking with Endurance is sloppy. Emergency protocols abandoned in favor of speed. The docking tunnel seals and they scramble through. Peter Strauss sees their faces and goes pale. My God, what happened down there? Neither man answers. They can't speak. They can only stare at each other, eyes wide with shared trauma. Aldridge reaches the control panel and initiates the trans-Earth injection burn without consultation, without discussion. The engine fires and they begin the journey home. No samples retrieved, no photographs taken, no survey completed. Just 3 men fleeing in absolute terror from something that should not exist. March 23rd, 1973. Pacific Ocean recovery. The command module splashes down in calm seas. But before the Navy ships can reach it, military helicopters swarm the site. Men in dark suits and respirators extract the crew, placing them in isolation chambers. This isn't medical quarantine. This is military detention. 6 weeks of interrogation. Each crew member separated, held in different facilities. No contact with families, no lawyers, no rights. All mission recordings are confiscated. Every photograph, every audio file, every scrap of telemetry. The official statement comes in May. Apollo 22 never launched. All mission documentation was part of a training simulation, an exercise to test contingency procedures. Dr. Elliott Ward was committed to a psychiatric facility in July 1973. The diagnosis: acute psychotic break with delusional parasitosis. He drew pictures obsessively, always the same thing. The creatures climbing from the moon, pouring across Earth's surface, entering people's homes while they slept. He was found dead in his cell in August 1973. Official cause: suicide by hanging. Present-day Aldridge's voice is flat, emotionless. Elliott didn't kill himself. He couldn't have. When I finally got the police report years later, it said his room was sealed from the outside. The lock mechanism could only be engaged from the corridor. Someone locked him in. Someone made it look like suicide. Peter Strauss disappeared in 1976. Last seen boarding a commercial flight from Houston to Washington, D.C. for what he told his wife was a routine consultation with NASA. He never arrived, never found. The missing person case remains open. Aldridge says, Peter called me the night before he left. He told me he'd been having the same dreams I was having, that he could hear them at night, scratching beneath his house. He said he needed to tell someone the truth. Consequences be damned. I begged him not to go. But Peter was like that, moral to a fault. If he thought people were in danger, he'd sacrifice himself to warn them. His voice breaks. I never saw him again. Present day. Aldridge's hands shake violently as he speaks. I tried to forget. For 50 years I tried. I moved to a different state every few years. Changed my name twice. Saw therapists, took medications, tried meditation, tried alcohol. Nothing worked. Because every night the dreams come. Security footage from his home, captured by his daughter who'd grown concerned about his health, shows him waking multiple times per night, screaming, clawing at his skin, checking the locks on doors and windows obsessively. In the dreams, I'm back in that chamber, but I'm inside one of the columns now, and I can see them bringing in new ones, recent ones, people in modern clothes, modern technology. The collection is growing. He pauses, struggling to continue. The interviewer's voice, off camera. What do you think they want? Aldridge reaches into a drawer and produces a sealed envelope. 3 months ago I received this. No return address, no postmark. It just appeared in my mailbox. He opens it with trembling fingers. Inside is a photograph. High resolution. Taken recently, it shows the Aitken Basin from orbit. The spirals have multiplied. There are now thousands of them, covering an area 10 times larger than in 1973. The central depression has widened. It's now over 1 kilometre across, and something dark and vast is visible just beneath the surface, like a massive eye staring upward at the stars. There's something else in the envelope. He pulls out a fragment of rock, places it on the table under the camera light. The rock is covered in the same luminescent veins from the chamber. As we watch, they pulse, steady, rhythmic. It's still alive, Aldridge whispers. Whatever it is, it's still growing, still waiting. The fragment seems to pulse brighter, as if responding to his words. The documentary cuts to news footage. Multiple nations announcing ambitious lunar missions. China's Chang'e 8, scheduled to land in Aitken Basin in 2026. Mission objective, establish permanent research station. NASA's Artemis 4, targeting farside landing in 2027. Mission objective, deep core drilling, subsurface exploration. European Space Agency planning, permanent farside base by 2030. Location, Aitken Basin Rim. Russia announcing partnership with India for joint farside mission, 2028. All of them targeting the same region. All of them planning to dig deep. Aldridge stares directly into the camera, his eyes hollow. They're going back. Multiple nations, all at once. And I think about that. I think about the timing. How after 50 years of ignoring the far side, suddenly everyone wants to go there. Everyone has urgent reasons to establish permanent presence. He leans forward. Maybe they don't know what's waiting. Or maybe they do know. Maybe that's why they're really going. The interviewer asks, "What do you mean?" Aldridge's laugh is bitter, broken. I've had 50 years to think about it. Those people in the columns, they weren't random victims. They were carefully selected. Test pilots, explorers, people who push boundaries, the best of us. He stands, walks to the window. Outside, the afternoon sun is setting. The moon will rise soon. Every few decades it takes what it needs. Samples, testing compatibility, learning about us. And now we're bringing more. Now we're digging deeper, establishing permanent presence, giving it access to hundreds of people. His hands clutch the window frame. Those things I saw, the creatures, they weren't the main organism. They were antibodies. Immune response. The moon itself is the organism, or something living inside it. Something ancient, something that's been waiting. He turns back to the camera. I'm telling you this because someone needs to know the truth before... He stops, listening. The room has grown darker. Outside the window, the moon is rising. Full, bright, dominating the sky. His breathing becomes rapid. His pupils dilate. Can you hear that? The room is silent except for his breathing. He staggers, nearly falls. The camera operator moves to help, but Aldridge waves him off. No, stay back, don't touch me. He's staring at his hands. In the harsh light of the room, his veins are visible beneath the skin, and for just a moment they seem to pulse with faint blue light. Oh God, he whispers, it's in me. It's been in me since 1973, since I touched that vein in the chamber. The camera begins to shake, whether from the operator's hand or something else is unclear. Aldridge looks directly into the lens one final time. Everyone who went there, everyone who's going there, we're all connected to it now, and it's waiting. It's been waiting for billions of years, and now it's almost ready. His voice drops to barely a whisper. 3 nights ago, I woke up at 3 a.m. I was standing in my backyard, barefoot in the grass, staring at the moon, and I don't remember walking outside. I don't remember leaving my bed, but I was there, and I was digging. My hands were covered in dirt, and there was a hole at my feet, 3 feet deep, and at the bottom, he trails off, his face contorting with fear. At the bottom, the soil was glowing, those same veins, growing, spreading, right here on Earth. The camera zooms in on his face. Tears stream down his cheeks. It's not just on the moon anymore. It's here. It came back with us 50 years ago, and it's been spreading ever since. Under our feet, under our cities, waiting for enough of us to be connected, waiting for the signal. He looks at the window again. The moon hangs huge and bright in the darkening sky. And when those missions land in 2026, when they drill deep into the basin, when they open it up... He doesn't finish the sentence, the interviewer's voice shaking now. Open what up? Aldridge's expression is one of absolute despair. The door. They're going to open the door, and everything that's been sleeping down there for eons is going to wake up, and it's going to come home. He emphasizes the last word, and as he does, that subsonic frequency becomes audible in the room. A deep thrumming that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere. The camera shakes harder. Equipment on the shelves begins to rattle. It's calling them, Aldridge says, his voice rising. Can't you hear it? It's calling all of them. Everyone who's ever touched the lunar soil. Everyone who's ever been there. Everyone who's going. We're all seeds, and the harvest is coming. The lights in the room flicker. The moon outside seems to pulse in rhythm with the sound. Aldridge backs away from the window, his face twisted in terror. Get out. You need to get out. Don't let it see you. Don't let it know you know. The camera operator's voice panicked. Mr. Aldridge, we need to call someone. We need to... But Aldridge is screaming now, pointing at the window. It knows! It knows, we told! Look! The camera swings to the window. For just a moment, the moon seems different. The craters and Maria shift, rearrange. and for a split second they form the shape of an eye. A massive, ancient eye, staring down at Earth with patient hunger. The screen cuts to black. In the darkness, sound continues, breathing inside a helmet, then clicking. Multiple sources growing closer, surrounding, and beneath it all, a voice. Not distorted now, clear. Human. But layered, as if thousands of mouths are speaking, in perfect unison, forming a single word that grows louder and louder until it becomes a deafening roar. Home, 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 home. The sound peaks, then stops abruptly. Silence. 3 distinct knocks as if something massive is testing the strength of a door. A door that's been locked for billions of years. A door that's about to open. A final title card appears in blood-red text. Apollo 23 mission. Proposed launch date, October 2025. Destination, Aitken Basin. Crew selection, in progress. Expected drilling depth, 150 meters. Beneath it, smaller text, deep enough. The screen fades completely to black, but the documentary doesn't end. Not really. Because in theatres across the world where the film plays, audience members report the same phenomenon. A subsonic hum that seems to come from beneath their seats. A frequency felt rather than heard. And the unmistakable sensation that something, somewhere, is listening to their heartbeats. Counting them, learning them, getting ready. And when they leave the theatre and look up at the night sky, the moon seems different somehow. Closer, watching, waiting, almost like it's smiling. The reports come in over the following weeks. People waking up in strange places with no memory of how they got there. Dig marks in their yards. Veins of luminescent material found in basements, in crawl spaces, under foundations. Always spreading, always growing, always pulsing with that same rhythm. 72 beats per minute. The resting human heart rate. But it's not resting anymore. It's accelerating, getting faster, as if something is waking up, as if something is getting excited, as if after billions of years of patience, of waiting, of collecting samples and testing compatibility, it's finally ready. The harvest is coming, and humanity planted the seeds themselves 52 years ago, when 3 men descended into a pit on the far side of the moon and touched something they should never have disturbed. Thomas Aldridge was found dead in his home 1 week after the documentary aired. The official cause, heart failure, but the autopsy revealed something unusual. His cardiovascular system had been infiltrated by an unknown biological substance. Veins within his veins, pulsing with faint luminescence even hours after death. The pathologist who performed the autopsy requested immediate quarantine protocols. His request was denied. The report was classified, and the pathologist himself disappeared 3 days later. His last phone call was to his wife. He told her he could hear clicking sounds in the walls, that the ground beneath his office was warm, that when he closed his eyes, he could see the moon, and it was looking back at him, that it was calling him home. The investigation into his disappearance found only one clue. In his office, he'd been working on something. A calculation scrawled across every surface, written in increasingly frantic handwriting. The same equation, repeated thousands of times. The equation calculated the number of people who had been in direct contact with lunar material since 1969. Astronauts, scientists, museum curators, engineers, researchers. The number was in the thousands. And beside the final calculation, a single word, underlined so hard the pen tore through the paper, enough. Because that's all it needed. Enough seeds planted, enough connections established, enough doors opened. And now, as missions prepare to return to the far side, as drills get ready to pierce deep into the ancient basin, as humanity eagerly rushes back to the moon with dreams of colonization and discovery, something underneath is getting ready too. Getting ready to wake up, getting ready to grow, getting ready to come home, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. Because the door isn't on the moon. It never was. The door is right here, under our feet, under our homes, under our cities, growing in the darkness, spreading through the earth like roots, like veins, like a massive organism preparing to fruit. And when it does, when those missions land and drill deep and crack open the ancient seal, every seed that was ever planted will activate simultaneously. Every person who ever touched lunar soil, every sample that was ever brought back, every connection that was ever made, all of them waking up, opening, blooming. 7 billion people on Earth, and underneath them all, something vast and patient and utterly inhuman, finally ready to harvest what it's been growing for 50 years. The moon hangs in the sky tonight, full and bright and beautiful. And if you listen carefully, if you press your ear to the ground and quiet your breathing and wait, you might hear it. That subsonic frequency, that rhythmic pulse getting louder, getting faster, getting closer. The sound of something breathing, the sound of something waking, the sound of something coming home. And there's nothing left to do but wait and listen and hope that when it finally arrives, when it finally emerges from the darkness beneath our feet, it remembers that we're more than just seeds, that we're more than just samples in columns, that we're human, but deep down in the place where instinct lives, in the place where terror breeds, we all know the truth. It doesn't care what we are. It never did. We were never the explorers. We were never the discoverers. We were always the harvest. And the harvest is finally here. The documentary ends. The lights come up. The audience files out, talking nervously, laughing to dispel the tension, telling themselves it's just a story, just fiction, just entertainment. But tonight when they go to sleep, some of them will dream. They'll dream of the moon, of spirals carved in ancient soil, of hexagonal columns filled with screaming faces, of creatures with too many joints clicking in the darkness, of something vast rising from a pit, unfurling, reaching, and they'll wake up in places they don't remember going, with dirt under their fingernails, with that subsonic hum still thrumming in their bones, with the unshakable certainty that something is watching them from above, something patient, something hungry, something that's been waiting for them their entire lives, something that's finally ready to call them home. The screen is black now, silent, but if you wait long enough, if you listen carefully enough, you'll hear it. 3 knocks, slow, deliberate, patient. The sound of something testing a door. The sound of something that knows the door is about to open. The sound of something that's ready to come through. And there's nothing you can do but wait for that final knock. The one that means the door is finally opened. The one that means it's time. The one that means you're going home, whether you want to or not.